Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining us for this first episode in the Community Safety and Security series, brought to you in partnership with the Jamaica Constabulary Force, Clarendon Division, and our program partners, Clarendon, that's the Serenity Consulting Services, Sha-Gore Aggregates, Cousins Construction Services, and National Self-Serve Wholesale. It's all about Clarendon. My This is the Clarendon Police Division that's in the house this evening, and I want to thank them so much for making themselves available. I am Winsome Sharia Witter, the founder of Serenity Consulting Services, host and producer of the Serenity Resource Connector. If this is your first time tuning in, a warm welcome. Do subscribe, set your notifications so that you'll get your reminder when we go live each week. We do this each week at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. First Thursdays, we have discussions with the JCDC Culture Corner. Second Thursdays, as of this Thursday, it's going to be discussion with the Jamaica Constabulary Force Clarendon Division, focusing on community safety and security. And on third Thursdays, we have a partnership with the Early Childhood Commission looking at the year of early childhood development. Fourth Thursdays, it's conversations with the Clarendon Municipal Corporation as we look at the local governance and development that's taking place in the parish of Clarendon. Now you know why I mentioned Clarendon earlier, out of place, right? We are focusing on Clarendon, but as I said from the very first episode, in August of 2021, we're in the second season. Whatever it is that you see happening at these local entities in Clarendon is the same across the island. Some of the functions may vary depending on the makeup and the structure of the different organizations, but the general functions are the same. So, for this episode, the objective is to get a better understanding of the roles and functions of the different sections of the Clarendon Division. And to guide us through that discussion, we have with us SSP Glenford Miller. We have DSP Cardoza and DSP Owen Brown, who are going to be sharing with us this evening. My apologies for that. So let's bring on SSP Glenford Miller. Welcome to the Serenity Resource Connector space, SSP.
Thank you, Mrs. Witter. Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting the police to share with the citizens of Clarendon and the wider viewers who are watching in on the Serenity Resource Connector program this evening. Thank you for having us.
Awesome. And of course, the rest of the team will be joining us in the virtual studio in a little while. But before they do, SSP, let's lay the foundation, because some years ago, before this whole pandemic hit, a group of us as business people in Clarendon got a tour during Police Week of the different divisions there, and we were taken aback at the different functions that taking place there that most of us had no idea about. We just see the police and we just figure that it's just what we see. There's so many things that takes place behind the scenes, and so what we want to do is to let the citizens have a better understanding and appreciation for what it is that the division actually does. So walk us through, what are the different sections that you have there?
All right. First and foremost, I just want the citizens to know that your Clarendon Police is here to serve you, and as best as possible, try to keep you safe. There are several sections within the Clarendon Police Division. And there are two of the sections that I will not go into detail, but I will just mention them because as the officers who are in charge of those sections, they are here. And I know they would like to elaborate on their section. They want to speak about their section. They don't
Indeed.
want anybody to tell their story. They want to tell their own story. All right. And that is the operation sections that is led by Acting Superintendent Cardozo and the Community Safety and Security section that is led by DSP Brown. So I will continue to go into the sections. We have the Criminal Investigation Branch of Clarendon, that is, we call some persons call it the CIB.
CIB, okay.
CIB. That is led by DSP Anglin and a team. The CIB persons are the one who investigate the major crimes. And we talk about major crimes, we're talking about murder, shooting, robbery, rape, breaking, burglary, larcenies, and the list goes on. So the CIB section is responsible for to investigate the most serious crimes. And persons would have known, Clarendon would have seen a fair share of serious crimes, especially murders from time to time, because we're still replaying with the effect of the quadruple last year in Havana Heights. But I will continue. So from the CIB section, I will go over to the next side now. We have the administration section that is led by an acting DSP also. The administration section of Clarendon Division, that is the section now that is responsible for all the paperwork have to pass through the administration section. So persons applying for their vacation leave, even when person's passport is lost, motor vehicle documents are lost, all of these documents must come back to the administrating section. I can go further. In the case that somebody actually dies also, from time to time, persons actually request some sort of documents from the police. It has to pass through the administration section also. The administration section also deals with like persons welfare in the sense that sometime from time to time police might have to do some different type of duties and have to apply for different allowances. All those documents must pass through the admin. On the admin section, there is also a section that we call custody. The custody department is responsible for prisoners. And in Clarendon, I can tell you we have a lot of prisoners. And some of the prisoners are consider them to be real hardcore prisoners. These are persons that charges crime ranges from murder, shooting, robberies, all the major crimes I mentioned before, to include other crimes. To include even persons who consider themselves trying to run away, so we call them some illegal aliens in Jamaica. So these are persons, whenever we find these persons, we actually take them into custody also. And they will, after the court hearing, and they will basically await their deportation back to the country of their origin, of their birth. So custody deal with that aspect of things. The prisoners, so the movement of prisoners from the lockups to the courts, and movement of prisoners. Sometimes when persons are arrested on the street, the custody person sometimes assists in the transportation of these persons. And I can tell you, our custody team, they are very much active. Every day they are up on that. And remember in Clarendon, we have court at actually three locations in Clarendon. We have court at Maypen, court in Chappiton, and also court in Lionel Town. So the custody team is responsible for transporting prisoners to the various courts within the parish and also outside of the parish. Because we have prisoners in the parish that has to go to court. Maybe you will call it the Home Circuit Court that is in Kingston. So our custody team is very much active. We can go further. The closed circuit television team, we call it the CCTV team. That is the section now that actually monitors the cameras that are within the township of Clarendon. And ladies and gentlemen on the platform, and especially the citizens of Clarendon, I am imploring on you now also to come on board the Jamaica Eye and let us help watch Clarendon for you. We need more persons to come on board. We need more cameras. The more eyes we have on the ground, the better it is. And for you joining the Jamaica I system, it is good. One of the things that it does, you don't have to come to court to give evidence if your camera footage would have captured something. You don't have to come to court. We will do all of that. You don't have to come. So nobody will know that is your camera do this or do that. No, you don't have to come. By virtue of you signing on to the Jamaica I, we now have the authority and the responsibility. Once now we are the viewers of the cameras, we will come to court and give evidence. So you don't have to come. So I'm imploring the members of the citizens of Clarendon, come on board the Jamaica system and help us to keep Clarendon safe. So that is the CCTV section there. We can go further. We have Agro Town and Enforcement Team. And I know that is Mr. Cardoza era still in. I don't want to delve into too much, but I just want to mention a piece of it. This is the team that, especially town enforcement aspect of it, the team that actually trying to keep the vendors or to keep the street clean from the vendors because the vendors are giving us some problems in Clarendon. And for vendors of Clarendon who are on the platform, please, I'm asking you, go in the proper place and vendor. The market is there. I know sometimes everybody want to come on the front page, but no. When you come on the front page, you're forcing the pedestrian by virtue of you taking up the sidewalks. You're forcing the pedestrian to go in the street. This can cause accident, ladies and gentlemen. We don't want our citizens to be walking in the street and hit down by a motor vehicle. This can cause the loss of life. Please, I'm asking you, go in the market and sell your products. All right? Thank you for that aspect of it. We also have a section that we call it the process section. Our process section of Clarendon actually deals with what we call the warrants, the summons, the subpoenas. So when persons are issued with a traffic ticket for argument's sake, and they fail to go to court, a warrant is sent out for these persons. When the warrant is sent out, it goes to the process section that deals with it. So we have warrant for persons. The process section, that the major section that at Mapen, have the warrants for actually 12 stations in Clarendon. So we have 12 police stations in Clarendon that manage the districts. So we have a lot of warrants. So I'm also imploring on persons, if you know that warrants are at the station for you, come in, let me take it to the court. So execute the warrant and you take it to the court so you can actually deal with these issues. Don't put yourself in an embarrassing position or situation where we have to carry out an operation, come to your house for you, and arrest you and put you in custody. So I'm imploring on you. Just come to the police and say, no, sir, I missed my court date and maybe there's a warrant out for me. You can check for it. Yes, we will check for you. And if one is there, as I said, we will just tell you to come with us tomorrow or give you a date and you come with us to court where the warrant will be executed on you and the judge will actually lay down whatever fine or whatever penalty there is. It is not for us to do that. We don't have the authority to do that. All right. But as I mentioned, our 12 police stations, ladies and gentlemen, our 12 police stations that we have out there is actually led or is in charge by no lesser rank than a sergeant of police. No lesser rank than a sergeant. So you have sergeant at some and inspectors at some. These are the police stations that the members out there actually try to keep the citizens actually safe in climate. And I'm imploring on you, please, as best as possible, try and support your police. And as best as possible, the police supposed to also, and we will try ensure that we support our citizens of Clarendon. So, Mrs. Witter, I will ask you now to bring on the operations officer or the CSS officer so that they can actually delve a little more in their section. Thank you very much.
Indeed. All right. But before we bring on the other officers, you mentioned 12 stations. Can you share for those who might not be aware of where those 12 stations are? So we
All
know
right.
of Maypen.
As persons would say, Maypen is just not a playpen, you know. But ladies
Right?
and Man, we are trying to bring back Maypen to the days where your children can come and play in Maypen. But for the 12 polling stations, the Clarendon Division, we call it Division, or the parish of Clarendon, we divide it into three zones: Zone 1, 2, and 3. Zone 1 is the Maypen. Maypen is in Zone 1. So in Zone 1, you have Maypen, Four Parks, Langville Park, and Mucko. That is in Zone 1. Zone 2, that is in the southern side of Clarendon, where you have Hayes, Lioneltown, Exeter, and Milk River. In Zone 3, which is the northern side of the parish, you have Chapelton, Rock River, Croftsill, and Frankfield.
Okay.
So that is how the parish is zoned out, and that is how the police stations are in the different zones in the parish.
All right. So let's bring on DSP Owen Brown. We also have DSP Cardoza, who is acting superintendent. Welcome. DSP Cardoza seems to be having some technical challenges. We give him a little time to get that sorted out and get his camera on. DSP Owen Brown, welcome. While we're waiting on
Thank you
DSP
very much.
Cardoza, some let me acknowledge some of our live viewers who are participating in the comments. I must acknowledge Laverne Brown. Laverne Brown was on from before 8 p.m. and she registered her attendance to say she's here. Laverne, thank you so much for tuning in. We want all our citizens to be disengaged and wanting to hear what it is that the Clarendon Division is supposed to be doing for us and how we can support the team in making life easier for us all. We have one of our regular, Anne Marie Gooding McNigan, that was patiently waiting. She was right on the dot. Thank you so much for tuning in. And here is one of my mentees, Dorothy Miller. And interestingly, Dorothy is in the process of, she applied to be a member of the JCF. So she's now waiting for her call for the interview. So she's on, and supposing Dorothy want to learn some more about what it is that she's getting herself into. Dorothy, welcome from the hills of
Welcome,
Clarendon.
welcome, awaiting police officer.
Right. Okay. And we have some of our folks from Longville Park in the house: Cecilia Campbell Livingston, Alfonso Lewis of the CDC, Romeo Mitchell, the chairperson for the Development Area Committee in Maypen and also part of the Palmer's Cross CDC, Ramona Lawson. Thanks for tuning in. Sharon Arns, welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so Ramona is saying, let's bring this on. So interestingly, Spalding doesn't fall under the Clarendon Division. Oh, this is always an interesting conversation. You want to take that, SSP?
No, Spalding falls under Manchester Division, but Spalding is a part of Clarendon.
Yes, how does that affect policing there, if any at all?
Sometimes it's a little difficult, but because of the coordination and cooperation between Manchester and Clarendon, and especially we are in the same era, which is Era 3, and Manchester and Clarendon is a part of Era 3, it makes work and the life of us much easier. Easy communication.
Awesome. All right, thank you for that, Ramona, because this is a good point to highlight, because we have 3 zones in Clarendon, and similar in terms of the reporting, because how does that affect policing? So in the event of an accident, some incident, where do the citizens report? Do they report to? Is there a structure in terms of the police station in the different zones, or they report to the closest police station, or it
And
depends on the?
I'm glad you say that, Mrs. Witter. A crime or an incident can report at any police station in Jamaica. Any police station in Jamaica. But
Okay.
sometimes you always said report it to the nearest one. Sometimes persons might not feel comfortable reporting it to the nearest police station. But what I want our viewers to know also is that if it happens in Chapelton for argument's sake, and you report it at Mapen, the file will be sent back to Chapelton for necessary investigation to be done. Same thing outside of the parish.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
All right. All right. So I trust that we got that clear. If not, ask your question so we can get the clarification. We are in class, and I've been taking notes. I trust you have been doing that also. So let's hear from DSP Owen Brown, the very exciting section of community safety branch. Tell us about the community safety branch. What are the roles or the functions of that branch?
Good evening, Mrs. Witter.
Evening,
Um,
evening.
Mrs. Sweet, good to see you, sir. Good to see you, Mr. Cardoza. Um, Mrs. Witter, you've always been a very good supporter of the police. I can recall the recent program you coordinated, that youth program, where a number of our youngsters were impacted, and you continue to be that excellent a supporter. Thank you so much.
My
I
pleasure.
want to, I want to express a very good evening to all the citizens of Clarendon also that are tuning in. Of course, the Community Safety and Security Branch deals with community related activities. So we are the ones who hold consultations with our stakeholders. And we have a number of stakeholders from churches, school, businesses, straight across the parish. Um, the Social Development Commission, the Municipal Council, the National Youth Service, you name them. These are all our stakeholders, and we've been doing we're appreciative of the support that they have been giving us. We're also the team that is responsible for the forming of Neighborhood Watch and police youth club groups in the communities. And as you know, that Neighborhood Watch serves to create that added protection for the
Right.
space in which our people operate. So it's the community and the police together helping to make the space safer. The Police Youth Club is where we garner the talents of our youngsters, where they are in our Police Youth Club groups. It's as we have always said, it's unlikely for someone who's a part of a Police Youth Club to be involved in illegal or criminal activities. Usually, they are the ones who progress in school. In fact, it is impacting us to the extent that our leaders are the ones becoming members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the Jamaica Defense Force, and are going into colleges. So it's impacting our youth club. We've got to be ensuring that we're building that second tier leader to take over each time. So in a nutshell, it's really creating that space where people can understand that police is more than just firearms and
Yes.
force, but we're also a part of the community in everything you do. Um, Recently, we had an intervention in Rocky Point where a number of the stakeholders came together, where we had over approximately 1,500 persons coming out on one day, where all the agencies were there, the RGD, those in health, the police, they were there doing recruitment, just everybody coming together to serve one community. So it's where the community is taken to the police is taken to the community and help them to see police from a different angle.
Indeed. And the the police have been very visible, especially at the interagency network, which is the group that's actually engaged in that. And there are a number of them that's supposed to be going on across the parish of Clarendon. So I'll be sure to get the schedule and share each week so you know where the next fair will be, so that we can be a part of these
I think that
different
should be Buckner
engagements.
on the 15th.
But on the 15th, okay,
Yes, yes.
right. And the others should be coming up very rapidly because they end
Or-
this month.
Yes.
Right. Michael Thomas, great evening to you. I'm so blessed. Great evening. Thanks for joining us. Right. So, and they, you didn't mention too that you have been out there in the different schools. I just love those pictures
Of
where the
course.
little ones, there's so many of them who want all dressed up each year in their police attire. Some of them they make sure they don't want to get into the sergeant look. Some want to be inspectors and superintendents, and they'll make that clear. It's so interesting over the years how you see the different, they're understanding the different roles, and they're selecting which of the uniforms they want to wear. I saw this one being shared with the little one wants to be dressed like daddy because daddy wears a particular uniform, so he wants to be in that uniform that daddy is in. Yeah, I find it very fascinating, right? And you
Okay.
all will, when you tune in on a third Thursday, you'll understand why. The Early Childhood Commission, I just love that, my little people. All
But
right,
but Mr. Twitter,
go ahead.
um, before you move on, Mr. Brown, DSP Brown should have mentioned also that although it's the different groups, that we're in the churches, not just in the churches.
Yes.
We attend churches sometime Saturday, Sunday, and if your church is on a Wednesday or Thursday, we will attend your church also, because it's we are going to the citizens out there. We're doing community walkthroughs, and the community walkthroughs, we have different agencies and stakeholders with us, walk in the different neighborhood and different communities, speaking to the persons, finding out what are their problems and how we can better serve them and keep their community safe. So it's a whole lot of things that the community safety and security section is doing.
Amazing. And
Amazing.
love that. Awesome. And I saw too yesterday where our beloved Justice of the Peace, Justice Roy, was honored. And I think that is really super special because I know that she has been serving tirelessly over the years. She's one of those justices of the peace that will show up to support the police any time of the day or night. I applaud her because she has been doing really well in that area. And as the series progress, we'll share more how it is that the police and the justices of the peace support each other. So for those aspiring JPs or those who are justices of the peace and you didn't know that you can actually specialize and focus on supporting the police team, there's also an avenue for you to do that. So stay tuned as we go further into the discussion. But let's bring in DSP Cardoza. Welcome to the Serenity Resource Connector
All
space.
right, thank you so much. Good evening to yourself and the listeners, SSP, DSP Brown. It's a pleasure being here tonight. Um, I am having some technical difficulties, so I'm hoping that I can say my bit without getting cut off. Right,
Okay.
so Clarendon Division. It is usually said that Maypen is not a playpen. The Clarendon Division is one of the more challenging divisions within the island of the 19 geographic divisions. We really do have our fair share of challenges. Um, One of the areas of challenge really falls within the Mapen policing area. We actually have several of those. So as it stands now, we have areas of concern as usual, like farm. We have areas, for example, in the Well, Butner community at this time is somewhat dormant. We have been doing some work along with the other stakeholders within that space, and we have been getting some good results. But of course, there are some criminals who always threaten or try to compromise the safety and security of individuals. We have other areas within the Macon police area. Right as it stands now, we have areas extending all the way down to Freetown from in the town. And we are trying our best to put strategies and implement strategies to curtail all these matters of criminality. We have areas on the southern side as well. In recent times, Rocky Point and areas within Exeter Police area have been challenging to us. The northern section of the parish is for the most part dormant, but we do know that some criminal activities take place within that space. And we are normally in communication with our stakeholders there to just report as quickly as possible any instances of criminality within this space. So, what have we been doing really? You will see once you pass through Clarendon that we have visible presence on our roadways. So especially within once you're passing through one parish to the other, you will see our personnel on the road being active out there. We do other hardcore policing activities, so we do targeted raids for the areas that require that, and we do several other activities. SSP mentioned earlier that we have teams that focus within the township itself. So he spoke about the agro and town enforcement team. Now, one of the things we find is that we have to control our township. It is not where we want it to be at the time, but we try our best to ensure that vendors conform to the rules and regulations. We also try to ensure that taxi operators and any other persons who seek to conduct any illegal activities, that we ensure that this is curtailed. We, despite our challenges within the parish though, we have had some successes. So for year to date, we have seized 11 firearms since the start of the year. And that I think is significant, and we will continue. I mean, this is several lives that could have been lost because of these firearms. We have managed to take uh, several persons of interest from off our streets, several of which have been charged for serious offenses, to include shootings and murders. We did an analysis of the island-wide operational statistics up to yesterday, and we found that Clarendon Division is actually on top with issuing over 19,000 traffic tickets since the start of the year. And we have made over 900 arrests since the start of the year. So we, despite what is happening, we are trying our best. We are partnering with the military as usual, and they give us some amount of assistance in our operational activities. So one of the things with Clarendon Division is that this is a team effort. So whatever it is that the operations department conducts, it is supported by the community safety and security branch, the intelligence arm of the division, as well as the administrative and the criminal investigations. So I think so far so good. We will just continue with our efforts.
Awesome, but we'd want to see those tickets reduced, because we see it especially during, and it's really the crucial time during the school hours, the way those taxis are speeding along those thoroughfares is real serious cause for concern. So I know that the team is challenged in terms of the presence and the number of personnel, but for those areas, especially those key school zones, if we can see more visibility there during, especially during the hours where they're going to school or they're leaving school.
Right. And we do try as best as possible to place our officers strategically. And I know perfectly what you're speaking about with regards to some of these operators. But we will continue our efforts. And with that, well, I'm getting a feedback. I'm sorry. We'll continue our efforts with a bit to reduce the number of accidents and anything that can be detrimental to our students and other road users.
Awesome. All right. SSP.
Yes, just add this part. As you mentioned that the reduction, it would be good to reduce the number of tickets issued in the parish, and that is so true. All the persons of the parish need to do, and persons traversing through the parish, comply with the rules of law. That is all we're asking persons to do. And by doing that, the number of tickets will be reduced.
Indeed. And we are going to go in details in the upcoming episode so that you can understand the different areas. You can do the breakdown as to the areas where most tickets are issued and what it is that the motorists really need to do. So we're probably going to have to bring on some other supporting team, and that's the beauty of the Serenity Resource Connector. So we see how it all comes together. How is it that the police works with the traffic authorities to get things done? So we're going to have those kind of joint up approach where we can share and you see and explain how it works, what it is that we can do to support the team so that we can make Clarendon a safer place for us to live, to raise our families and do business. Right? All right. So these divisions, I keep mentioning division. These sections are actually based at the Mapen location, right? So you're based there. How do you engage with the other stations, the inspectors and the sergeants that are heading the other stations across the parish? So all of this comes together because it doesn't happen in isolation because you're all connected at some point. So is that what all the many meetings are about?
That is a part of the many meetings, Mrs. Witter. But first and foremost, I must say, all the 12 station commanders, they report directly to Acting Superintendent Cardozo.
Okay.
So whatever transpire at their location for the under 24 or 48 hours, they will definitely pass on that to Acting Superintendent Cardozo, who actually pass it on to me. Also, weekly, sometimes bi-weekly, depends on what is happening, all the managers from all the stations and the sections are brought together at a meeting where we sit down and discuss the issues of the parish and see how better we can manage the parish. So we have our regular meetings, and not outside of that meeting with the station and section managers. We have where the senior managers of the Clarendon Division meet on a weekly basis also. And outside of that, as the year of this, Acting Superintendent Cardozo would have mentioned that the different teams would have actually play a part in supporting what operations is doing. So the operations, the CSS, the intelligence, and the CIB have their separate meeting outside of our regular meetings. So there's a lot of meetings, and each section leader and also station manager have meetings with their team members. So that is how we actually it worked in actually managing the parish.
Okay. because it's important for us to understand how it all comes together, because people seem to think that you just go out there and you just get something done, or you're just doing things in isolation, but it's a lot of behind the scenes planning, and which is what the whole operations is about, the bringing everything together so that you act in an intelligent manner, not just haphazardly. Right. All right. Romeo is asking a question.
And
Romeo, I'm not so clear on your question. If you can just clarify, is there a delivery time for these vehicles to the businesses within the different townships within our parish, especially in Maypen? Romeo, I'm not clear on that question. Okay. Now I'm understanding. That's for the municipal corporation. Are you? I take it that you're referring to the delivery trucks. Indicate if that's what you're referring to, Romeo. Is it the delivery truck to the businesses in Maypen and other townships? Let us know. And if it is, then you want to tune in for the discussion with the municipal corporation. Okay, right. So that's the municipal corporation. You see why it's important for us to have these kind of discussions. So it's the municipal corporation that's handling that aspect of it. So the municipal corporation works very closely with the police in carrying out their function, just as the different entities work closely with operations for the police to carry out their work. The municipal corporation also works closely with the police in carrying out some of these activities, but the functions actually reside with the municipal corporation. That's under their portfolio. All right, commendations coming in. Romeo, I want to commend the Prairie Larceny team, as they have been doing a really good job. And you must say, as we as JAS is really pleased with the leadership of the team. Please expound on this team. Okay. All right. So where does the Prairie Larceny team fall? Which of these?
All right. So that team falls under the operations department. That team is headed by the sub-officer Sergeant here. He has a number of persons assigned to that team, and we work closely with the stakeholders to ensure that we reduce significantly the instances or incidents of pre-larceny within the parish. One of the things that we do the most is public education. So we go around and we try to form farmers watch groups, and we have meetings to encourage these farmers as to strategies to ensure the security of their farms, their produce, and their animals. One of the things we find is that persons invest heavily into farming. However, they are not cognizant of the fact that they also need to invest in the security and the security strategies of these farm produce and animals. So we encourage persons to put mechanisms in place to watch, simply watch, surveil their particular farms. Farmers we will see passing through Clarendon, especially in some of the rural sections. There are goats, there are cows, cattle. They are just roaming the streets loosely. These are the same animals that farmers will report as being stolen. And this is one of the things that we take very seriously. We will do our investigation, but part of the whole mechanism is to prevent. And if persons just put some mechanisms in place, and we don't have to go the elaborate surveillance cameras, CCTV, we're simply say put a watch system in place. And if it is that you alone cannot do this, then all we do, we have something similar to a neighborhood watch group. That is what the Farmers Watch group is about. and the other farmers will watch, will assist you to ensure that your farm is secure.
Awesome. And we are going to go in details with that. So sharing different tips and strategies on and what the functions and how you go about forming these different groups. All right. So we're going to have a separate episode just for that so we can go in depth. But please, DSP Cardozo, please extend the commendation to the head of that team. We want
I
to
will.
make sure, yes, that we give commendations where commendations are due. All right. Awesome. Great evening, Sir Holmes. Thanks for joining. All right. My business peeps are coming in. All right. And we are going to have a discussion too on the business watch. So we have farmers watch, neighborhood watch, business watch. Any other watch? Yes, Brown, you're muted.
So it's business, farmers, and the neighborhood. Those are the watches that we have.
All right. Great. So we are
For the
going to
youths is
go
the PYC, Police
and
Youth
the
Club.
Police Youth Club. Right. So
Yes.
we're going to go in depth with those different programs, how you go about setting them up, and what are the benefits. And we want to bring in some of those individuals who are actively participating in those groups so that they can share how they have been benefiting. So, welcome, Sir Holmes. Great. Please, this is a forum to ask your question. You heard SSP, they have a lot of meetings. So, when you get them in this space, ask your questions directly. This is your opportunity to ask SSP any question that you have for him directly. The speaker, those that you might not see him all the time, maybe just the members of his team. The SP Brown, so do ask your question, right? But we were sharing earlier in terms of there are a lot of collaborations that take place in this space, and many people are not aware of them. I mentioned earlier about the municipal corporation, and we have the traffic authorities that work closely with the police because there are some activities that cannot be carried out or ought not to be carried out without the presence of the police personnel. Correct? Right. So it's a lot of activities that the police have to be engaged in. So the more we know and are able to support the police, is the better it is. So it makes no sense we're saying the police not doing this, the police not doing that, because they can do so much and no more. So what we want to do is to use this platform and the other platforms that the JCF is using to help us to have a better understanding as to the different roles and responsibilities and how we as citizens can play a part in making life better for all of us. Right? And that's the purpose of the CSSB. I just love that that area, the community safety and security. That's why this the series is named Community Safety and Security, because if we're able to get this part right, I mean, DSP Cardoza won't have much to do if we get the communities working right. All right, here's a question. What about a watch comprised of student wardens to ensure that students vacate town centers expediently and safely after school? All right. You have onto something there, Ramona.
If I can I take that one?
Certainly.
All right. So we work very closely with our schools, Mrs. Witter.
Yeah.
Currently, we are forming police youth clubs in our schools, where our students are learning to protect themselves. You would have seen what's happening in social media, where a number of our
Yeah.
students are already attacking each other. During our visits to the schools on a daily basis, we try to reduce that kind of uh, activity among our students, where we tell them of the dangers of having an offensive weapon with them, how better it is to talk out an issue rather than to fight it out. We also patrol our township because most of the time that's where it happens, in the town space. And so we know where it is that they are gathered. We usually try and be there so at least we can encourage them to get home. In our schools too, we attend the PTA meetings. So where parents are aware that they have a responsibility to their children to encourage them to get off the streets, get on their taxi to school and on their taxi back home. Where it is that they have failed to do so, then we sometimes take them in at the station and the parents will have to come collect their children. It's important that we do this because whilst we may not have some of those violent issues coming out of Clarendon, but we do know that we have students who have a tendency to become violent. So we want to stop it before it happens. So, of course, we're in the space. We need everybody to be on board. We don't want for students to be fighting with each other and the adults are there videoing it. It really makes no sense. You know that they are going to be hurting themselves, and then you video and send it into social media, into social space. So we're saying once you see where it has the potential to escalate, step in and say stop, send them home. We've given our numbers. Give us a call. Let us know where it is that the tendency is about to happen so that we can come and stop it so that we don't have to regret at the end of the day. But we do work very closely with our schools. And to quickly say, too, that our GRAPE program, that's the Gang Reduction and Prevention Education Program, that it is still
Yes.
up and running. There are a number of our schools that are a part of this program. It's where schools, parents, and police work together for the betterment of our students. So it's looking at students who are displaying antisocial behavior, students who have a tendency to be rebellious, to be difficult in school. So we get them in where we provide some form of mentorship, some form of counseling for them. And we've seen where this has helped a number of our students. Mrs. Witta, you're a part of the program that we had during COVID
Yes.
because although school was out, but yet you helped us to have that program still going. And so it has helped a number of our students who would have been displaying that kind of antisocial behavior. So it's where we work very closely with our schools to try and prevent some of these things before they even start.
Yes. It's great that you mentioned that because one of the participants actually reached out yesterday and I followed up to see what was happening with him. So he's currently working.
Excellent.
Right.
Excellent.
So, yes. And a number of the others still in touch with mentors. Cecilia, who is was the other lead on that project. She is still in touch with her mentee, checking in to see what is going on. And some of them do check in from time to time. The parents
Excellent.
still reach out to me sometimes to find
Excellent.
out, right? And they do, some of them tune into the program as well to learn what is going on, find out, check in to see how they can access the art program. So even though the program ended, the communication has not ended. So
Excellent. Excellent.
right. So that's what we have to do. All hands on deck. Right. But just to go back to Miss Lawson's question, I believe what she was suggesting is that support for the police in terms of empowering some of these students to be the warden so they see certain things happening in this space and they help in terms of assisting and get ensuring that these other students head home instead of sticking around the town center.
Of course,
But that's something that we can discuss.
one of the concerns that some persons express is that you really don't want to say anything or do anything, because you really don't want to be attacked. So we want to help students to understand that you don't have to be fearful. The one that ought to be fearful is the evildoer, the one that is doing the wrongs. But once we speak to them too, we say, just be very careful because we really don't want you to become that police out there because some of the persons you are dealing with are hardcore persons. They have weapons on them. Some have firearms. And so you don't want to be putting yourselves in danger. So whilst in your school, you are the prefect, you are the deputy head boy and the student council. You have to be very careful how you operate when you're on the streets. Some of them operate not just with students, but with other community members. And so before you know it, you're a gang. So we ask that you collaborate with us before you take on that kind of hardcore policing in the streets. Because it can be dangerous.
Okay. All right. See why it's so important for us to understand what really takes place and why it is that you don't have persons engaging as police officers because of the security risk. All right, the questions are rolling in and the time is also rolling. So, Alfonso Lewis, love the discussion. This one is for SSP. When will Longville Park team get another unit to help with the large area they have to patrol?
A very good question, and I would really love if I could give him a definite time frame. But that is something that is outside of my control. But we would have actually applied for each station within Clarendon to have at least 2 units, because sometimes the call for help from the citizens is so much that when one unit goes to a location to deal with an assignment, sometimes it takes hours, and sometimes there are other persons who are calling for help, and we have to send unit from different stations to actually go and assist. So I would, as I said, I would love to really give him a definite time frame, but I can't. That is left up to the Commissioner of Police.
All right. And I'll share, I believe this is okay to share this coming out of the crime oversight monitoring meeting. We had a meeting earlier this week, and that's one of the areas that's been monitored by the oversight body. And there is notation and acknowledgement that they're far behind as it relates to the number of vehicles. So that's something that's been monitored at the national level. And so hopefully we'll be able to see some improvements soon. But that's been worked on. There's a body that's actually monitoring the transformation of the police force and paying attention to the different areas that needs to be addressed. So I'll share as much as I can in these sessions for us all to be aware of what's going on. All right. Sir Holmes, the taxi and minibus transporting kids race along the Anderson Drive each evening. Would love for more patrols along that corridor. Or Mr. Holmes came in after we had that discussion.
Uh,
Yeah, that's what you had addressed earlier. Yes, Speaker Cardozo. Now you turn sideways.
you know, just to let you know, Mrs. Zita, from time to time, some of us have challenged with the technology.
Yes, it happens. It seems as if there's a connection challenge there. Right. But he did share earlier that that's an area that they seek to address as much as possible. But SSP, we need a little more work, especially the Anderson drivers, Sir Holmes indicate.
And this is
Yeah,
something we'll try to address as best as possible. We will.
right.
It is, I understand the Anderson Drive aspect of it, but it is not just Anderson Drive. And sometimes because the lack sometimes of the resources, as would have mentioned earlier on, 2 vehicles at a station, that would have been so lovely. We can manage more space. The more vehicles we have and the more people, we can dominate more spaces.
Indeed. All right. Cecilia is reporting that one of the mentee will be joining the force soon. All right. So,
Not surprised.
all right. All right.
Just to give a quick testimonial, Mrs. Witter,
Go ahead.
Mrs. Wallace and myself, because we have a very good team at the CSS branch. Um,
Yes.
Woman Sergeant Willow Garden and the other members of the team, one of the best teams to work with. They've been doing a tremendous job. But prior to that, we had um, Mrs. Mela Wallace, who is now transferred. She and I run the streets one of the days, and we saw a soldier in his uniform with his gun, and he came and hugged us up. He was
Okay.
one of our group students. So
Oh,
we're seeing the impact on our youngsters, and for that we're really, really, really grateful.
amazing. That
Yeah,
is really awesome
yeah,
news, right? And for those who are not following, GRAPE student means one of those students who were in problems at school and
that's
were
right.
referred through the GRAPE program. And they were actually, that person would have been mentored by the police and now in the JDF. That's awesome.
Yes.
That's really great. All right, Dorothy, or aspiring police officer, what are the responsibilities of the Joint Anti-Gang Task Force in the JCF?
One of the main responsibility of the Giant Anti-Gang Task Force, as the name suggests, is to go after the gangsters. So to get the gangsters and to get the gunmen and to get the guns, as our Commissioner of Police would always allude to. So that is the main responsibility of the Anti-Gang Task Force. And I want persons to know also on this platform that we does for the Clarendon Police and also other divisions or parishes. We don't only partner with private citizens. We actually have our internal partnership because from time to time, even the anti-gang task force, we will call them in from time to time to come and assist us with some of the problems that the gangsters are giving us in Clarendon.
Indeed,
So they are here with us from time to time, giving us some support.
indeed. Because I believe one of the recent raids, they were a part of that. Just one of the news article that they were a part of that mission. Right. Awesome. All right. Commendations coming in again to the dedicated JCF Community Safety and Security Team from the Longville Park CDC. Kudos, DSP Brown and team. All right, SSP looking proud.
Thank you, Ava. One of our very good supporters there in Langwell Park. Of course, we work very closely with the team there at Langwell Park. Very, very good team.
Indeed. Ramona, has the police noticed a marked increase in traffic congestion in the capital? Can any of the gentlemen offer comment on the reason or reasons for the buildup of traffic and how is this being managed?
Where the traffic situation is concerned within the township, you know that part of the problem is actually how the town was actually designed. But notwithstanding that, we had a meeting last week with the mayor and some other stakeholders to look at ways on which we can actually reorganize the flow of the traffic within our township. And we should be meeting back again in short order. So hopefully we'll be able to actually, by virtue of the redesign, this is not something though that happened overnight because whatever changes that we will be implementing, these are changes that would actually have to go to be gazetted. And some of these things sometimes take a little time, but it is a work in progress.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Believe
Believe
that's one of the
that's
items on the agenda at the municipal corporation as well. There's actually a process that's been ongoing in terms of getting a lot of community involvement, discussions with the different stakeholders. So we're hoping to see something positive coming out shortly. All right. Open request. The District of Dampy in Palmer's Cross community will be launching their Citizens Association this Sunday. Is it possible for the police to be on the Zoom platform meeting? Definitely. Definitely. All right. And that
Mr.
request
Michelle
will be
should
sent
Mr. Michelle
to
should
you.
have my number. Just send us the link, Mr.
Exactly.
Michelle.
All right.
Mhm.
Sir Mitchell, so ensure DSP Brown gets the link.
Yeah.
And for any other community that's represented here, that's it. DSP Owen Brown, he is the person in charge of the Community Safety and Security branch. So do reach out and get your group up and running and get the police because they want to be a part of it. So that's how they can help to guide you in the community as to what exactly you can do to maintain safety and security. All right. So I thank you all so much for engaging in this first episode of the Community Safety and Security series with the JCF Clarendon Division. All right. Kudos coming in still to the hardworking team and continue the good work. Right. Yes. And if for those who are tuning in for the first time, and if you see me smiling a lot, this is the atmosphere here on the Serenity Resource Connector. It's about learning and understanding, have a better understanding of how these different entities operate, how they serve, what we can do to help them to serve us better. And so it's an atmosphere of learning and sharing the wins, because mainstream media already shares all the negative stuff. We don't need any of that here. This is a serene space where we can learn and grow together as individuals, as community, as parish, as a nation. All right. So that explains why I'm always smiling on the program, right? That's the kind of atmosphere that we have here. And it's about supporting these different entities in helping to strengthen the public education, because a part of the challenge is that a lot of our citizens are really not aware of how these entities operate and how they can access the services. And that's what we want to support: the police, the municipal corporation, the Early Childhood Commission, the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, and others in helping to have this kind of community. So it's a community feel. So you're not going to get what you see on mainstream media where it's all dotting my I's and crossing my T's. That's for a different forum. This is a community setting. I want you all to feel comfortable to be a part of the conversations. All right. Okay. Using the opportunity to big up the elected body for the new Clarendon Neighborhood Watch Council. They're doing a tremendous job. All right, DSP Brown, that's your area again.
Thank you very much. Of course, Mr. Ryland Carr, our newly elected president, very, very energetic. Himself and his team, they are doing a tremendous job. And we really
All
want to thank
right.
them.
Awesome. All right. All right. Thank you for the reminder about. Please remember, we want Clarendonians to participate in the Neighborhood Watch logo branding competition closing July 7th, 2022. You want to share some additional information about so we can share it in the different platforms so persons are aware of how exactly they can participate. All right, so this will be the last question because the SP and SSP needs to get some rest. Good night. I have a question. Does the police force have any signs or signal that persons can use to be easily identified when they're in danger? Oh, I'm not aware of any locally. I think this is coming from the that international sign where you can indicate to someone that you're in danger.
Maybe this is something, and I like this question. So this is something that I will actually, so I can push it up to the high command. So maybe something can be developed. So, but it's a for us as police officers. Sometimes it is all about observation. When we observing the person, sometimes by virtue of the person's action, sometimes we know that something is wrong. So this is something that we try to employ most of our police officers, not all of our police officers, to actually observe the persons, because sometimes when persons behave in a manner, sometimes maybe sometimes that is a part of the sign and the signal, but because of how it is done, it come across in a different way.
Different way,
It's all
right?
about observation for now.
And just to add, Mrs. Witter, if you suspect that someone is following you, then travel to the nearest police station or to an area which is very well lit. A person's going to the bank to draw, large sums of money. We've always said to persons, you can call us, we'll assist you. Especially those persons doing payroll, call us, we'll assist you free of cost. We've had a number of robberies taking place in the township where persons have gone to collect sums of money and then it's just missing, stolen from their vehicles, or they're robbed before they get to their locations. So we want to prevent that. So call us.
Indeed. All right, Cecilia is mentioning that there was an app, safety alert app. Not remembering that one, but Cecilia, you're going to check that out and share with us on the next episode so we can stay in the loop. All right, SSP Glenford Miller, DSP Owen Brown, thank you so much. I know you've had a long day. Thank you so much for sharing space with me here on the Serenity Resource Connector, fielding these questions from the citizens of Clarendon. I trust that we are better informed from this episode and looking forward to the next one and the next and the next. All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in, participating. And please remember to share, subscribe to the channel, and share the link so all the citizens can be a part of what's happening here. So they too can get direct connection, because some persons feel that they can't connect directly with SSP Miller, but that's not true. Here's another avenue where you can connect directly with your senior superintendent and all the senior officers in the parish. Hi, Lady Sheena. Thank you for joining. All right. Business community rolling in. Thank you so much. And remember, next week, Thursday, third Thursday, we have the Early Childhood Commission. So make sure all the parents are connected so that, and not just parents, because we're all serving our little people in one way or the other. So the Early Childhood Commission is a commission that has oversight for the different infant schools and other early childhood institutions across the parish. I was having conversation with Romeo Mitchell earlier this evening, and I understand there are all of 5 in Palmer's Cross alone. So you want to ensure that all those parents are connected so that they can learn what's going on, how they can help to support their children, and the different strategies. Because if we're able to do that at that level, then it will make it easier for the police, because we want to intervene from the early childhood level. So I hope you see how it's all coming together. So the Early Childhood Commission, municipal corporation dealing with the whole development and all of that. Culture is a big part of who we are as a nation, and the police is there. But if we get these different areas right, it makes it easier for the police to serve and protect us. Let me thank you all again for tuning in. Continue to stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe, set your notifications so you can get your reminders. And please, let's be good citizens and share so we can all learn and grow together. Thank you all so much, and do have an awesome night and continue to stay safe. God bless.
And thank you for having us, Mrs. Witter, and have a blessed